Putting on the Armour of God, a Survival Manual, Part 2. Exactly how and why events are unfolding on the world stage is open for speculation, but the facts are not. Tragically, many people are suffering and dying from something being called COVID-19 by governments, scientists, doctors, and billionaire eugenicists, and repeated by the lying puppets in the mainstream media, the government propaganda machine, which is a crime against humanity. But despite widespread and repeated claims, there is no fatal virus wiping out most of humankind, and thus no justification for locking down, suffocating, terrorizing, violating, vaccinating, and impoverishing most human beings for years on end, with no end in sight. Hospitals are not overwhelmed by CV patients. Mass graves are not everywhere. Recovery rates are over 99%. Natural cures are effective. The majority of people whose deaths were attributed to COVID-19 were elderly, with comorbidity factors, immune compromised, sick and depleted from living in this toxic world that makes humans weak and vulnerable to illness and disease. Many doctors are reporting that death tolls are grossly overinflated because deaths from other conditions are included in the statistics. And many physicians have stated that there is, in fact, no deadly virus pandemic at all. There is the official narrative, there is a bioweapon, and there is the sinister truth. A seasonal respiratory virus of high infectivity and low pathogenicity is being used as a Trojan horse to usher in the New World Order. There is a well-planned, socially engineered, perceived crisis which is being leveraged to generate terror, trauma, cowardice, inaction, mistrust, division, and submission, to strip human rights and freedom through draconian measures and to establish centralized government, totalitarianism, and the total enslavement of humankind. All mandates, rules, bills, policies, and laws that are implemented worldwide to control a deadly virus have nothing to do with preventing deaths, protecting us, improving health and safety, or with a virus or virology. These measures are being implemented to destroy our health, our personal power, our livelihoods, our communities, our families, our freedom, and our future. All government and corporate public health strategies disempower and weaken us individually and collectively, while transferring incalculable wealth and power to a small number of lowlifes with purely selfish and satanic intentions. We are witnessing the greatest episode of internal looting ever recorded. Continuing to believe in the false narrative of a global virus pandemic is one of the most disempowering choices an individual can make at this time. If any government genuinely cared about the health and well-being of citizens, there would be action taken to prevent preventable deaths from the biggest killers of humans, heart disease and cancers. But instead of taking any effective actions to prevent millions of deaths annually, governments, in collaboration with drug and chemical companies and other perpetrators of evil upon humankind, subsidize the production and distribution of foods and beverages that cause heart disease and cancers. And they peddle pharmaceutical drugs as cures that create more suffering, cause death, and generate egregious profits. Governments are webs of evil that control, tax, milk, steal from, weaken, and sicken people. Governments give people the illusion of safety and security, but governments are criminal gangs that make life worse for all of us. Governments are in place to continuously interfere with our lives and our livelihoods, to keep us fearful, sick, and impoverished, and to prevent us from enjoying life and liberty. Believing that governments serve the people is one of the most disempowering beliefs one can cling to. Continuing to trust in government is naive and dangerous. The system is corrupt to its core. False beliefs and misplaced trust in governments are the reasons almost the entire human population is terrified, muzzled, on house arrest, jobless, and poisoned with untested, life-threatening experimental injectables. It takes great courage and humility to face the fact that government is slavery, humankind is enslaved, and emancipation from mental slavery is the solution. Anarchy is the answer, living in alignment with cosmic spiritual law, with no masters and no slaves. It takes great courage and sacrifice to embody freedom and to become empowered. We have infinite power to create, the power to destroy, and the power to control ourselves and others. We have the power to choose, the power to change, and the power to protect and defend ourselves and others from danger. We can use our power for whatever we choose, for good and for evil, to heal and to harm, and for selfless and selfish reasons. Selfishness is the root of all evil. Most people want power to control life, to get what they want: money, sex, possessions, attention, reputation, relationships, and or to control other people and life events. But using personal power in any of these ways is wrong and leads to suffering and loss of power. Scheming, scamming, deceiving, and manipulating others dissipates energy and destroys physical and mental health. Using personal power for purely self-serving reasons is evil and strengthens the presence of evil within self and within this reality. Using personal power to get what one wants may bring material and sensorial results, but the overall result will be a life lived in service to self, which is the definition of evil. Schools of thought, spiritual teachers, new thought leaders, and influencers who encourage the use of personal power for personal gain without considering the common good are inherently evil. Those who pursue material wealth, fame, and power over others will be destroyed by their own ambition. True power is freedom from self-limitations, fears, emotional wounds, false beliefs, limiting subconscious programming, addictions, and delusions of success, and freedom from inner poverty, the loss of connection to all that is. True power is self-love, self-awareness, and self-confidence. True power means control over self, emotions, speech, behaviors, and needs, and never control over others. True power is freedom from the dominance of others, from man-made policies, possessions, and the illusory structures of time and space. True power gives access to and control of limitless inner resources. True power is infinite good and infinite love. True power is the armor of God. Invoke and embody the power of infinite intelligence and the forces of light at every opportunity. With great power comes great responsibility. If an individual does not take responsibility for personal power by harnessing it to serve the common good, it will be squandered and vampirized by other people and malevolent life forms and used for their sustenance and empowerment. Taking full responsibility for one's personal power and using it to serve the highest good of all is the best use of personal power and the best way to create health, happiness, harmony, and peace on earth. Freedom comes through the remembrance of oneself as divine in nature. Free will cannot be violated unless permission, consent is given. Compliance, non-resistance, and silence give consent. Immediately revoke all agreements with forces of evil. Declare all soul contracts null and void. Make a declaration of sovereignty and establish permanent protection from dark forces. Claim independence from all evil entities and social systems of control. Do not consent to experiences of suffering, to external rulership, or to soul traps. Declare freedom from all soul traps and earth recycling traps for this life and the next. There are many layers to these soul agreements, so it is beneficial to ongoingly reaffirm non-consent to external rulership throughout all space and time, to practice peaceful non-compliance to tyranny, and to align with peace, love, truth, beauty, and joy. There is nothing to fear. Only love is real. There are only two paths to follow. One leads to increased health, happiness, power, and freedom. The other path leads to increased ill health, weakness, fear, suffering, and enslavement. The choice is yours. Increased personal power comes through understanding human nature, divine nature, and natural law. Optimal personal power comes through living in balance and in alignment with natural law, with cosmic spiritual principles, and with one's purpose. Personal power consists of spiritual power, mental power, willpower, the power of speech, physical power, sexual power, financial power, and our collective power. The power you have is to be the best version of yourself you can be, so you can create a better world. Ashley Rickards. Increasing spiritual power. Turn inward for strength, power, peace, clarity, wisdom, and infinite love. Spiritual power is the power that comes from within oneself, our quintessence. Spiritual power is also known as divine power, inner soul power, metaphysical power, psychotronic power, life force energy, vital energy, prana, mana, chi, shakti, and luminescence. Spiritual power is inherent and infinite. Spiritual power comes from a connection with self, nature, and God. Spiritual power is the cumulative power generated by the unfoldment of our highest potential through spiritual practices, which accumulates in the mind as light. Spiritual power is the essence of vitality within the body that strengthens immune function, healing, rejuvenation, resilience, courage, and perseverance. Spiritual power is also the power of love that radiates through the human heart, which can be increased by intention, attention, and acts of kindness, altruism, selfless service, and creativity. Love is the greatest power. Love is the power of healing, freedom, manifesting dreams, and miracles. Authentic love is what remains after we heal emotional wounds and when we establish connection with the indwelling God. Spiritual power protects from evil and accumulates over lifetimes. Spiritual power can be harnessed and directed to serve the highest good of all, to heal oneself and others, and to change the nature of reality. The highest ideal for humanity will be achieved through individual actualization of spiritual power, which is derived from following a spiritual path, serving God, doing inner work, and spiritual practices with the intention of healing, expanding consciousness, embodying greater love, and alchemizing the soul. Inner soul power comes with spiritual growth. One cannot expect life to get better without becoming a better person. There are countless ancient wisdom traditions dedicated to increasing, harnessing, and directing spiritual power through spiritual practices, foods, herbs, sacred plant medicines, and lifestyle practices. There are principles shared by all ancient wisdom schools. Desire to know the Creator. Desire to serve the Creator. Take every opportunity to deepen in relationship with God, in infinite intelligence. There are as many paths as there are people. Trust yourself. All that you need is found within. Meditate daily. Make it a frequent practice to withdraw attention from the external material world and pay attention to the inner spiritual world. Align with the divine. Align free will with divine will. Ask for and follow divine guidance. An intermediary between oneself and God is disempowering and unnecessary. Let thy will be my will. Devote one's life to seeking and serving truth, Become a fierce warrior for truth. Study and live in accordance with natural law. Natural law is the body of existing, universal, eternal, inherent, non-man-made, binding and immutable conditions which act as the governing dynamics for the consequences of behaviors of beings with the capacity for understanding the difference between harmful and non-harmful behaviors. Natural law is a body of universal spiritual laws which act as the governing dynamics of consciousness. Consciousness is the ability of a being to recognize patterns and meaning with respect to events taking place, both within oneself and in the realm in which the self exists and operates. It is our ability to perceive truth. Mark Passio. Natural law is immutable, ever-present, outside space and time, and in the fabric of life as the objective inherent reality. Natural law is not statutory law or man-made law and has nothing to do with any religion. Natural law is cosmic spiritual law. It is the underlying principle of the evolutionary process of creation. It is the harmonizing and renewing force of the cosmos. Natural law is truth, justice, freedom, harmony, balance, and equality. Natural law governs the consequences of human behavior. Like gravity and electromagnetism, its existence and effects are not affected by beliefs or opinions. One cannot break natural law without suffering. One suffers as much from ignorant violations of natural law as one does from intentional violations. Most ailments begin with a corruption of natural law. Manly P. Hall. Understanding that there are laws and principles inherent in creation, affecting all life throughout the cosmos, life on earth, and human consciousness and behavior, is empowering. With knowledge, understanding, and application of natural law, one is empowered to create reality, heaven on earth. Without knowledge or understanding of natural law, one is easily manipulated to create this earthly reality, hell on earth. Without an understanding of natural law and the true nature of reality, humankind remains enslaved and suffering from mass hypnosis, mass delusion, and mass psychosis. Humanity is in a trance, and it is a time for transcendence, the end of the trance, through knowledge of natural law. The purpose of reason is to become aware of the great rules, laws, and principles that sustain life. Manly P. Hall. Knowledge of natural law has been occulted in order to keep humans ignorant and powerless. A human who lives in accordance with natural law becomes divinely protected, divinely inspired, divinely guided, divinely empowered, and blessed beyond measure. Those who do not live in alignment with the principles of natural law, through ignorance or by choice, are unbalanced, powerless, and easily manipulated and controlled to serve dark forces. Without knowledge of universal laws, no one and nothing can change for the better, and freedom is just a word. No good comes from ignoring natural law. Universal law is the greatest good, the greatest bounty, the greatest love, the greatest wisdom that man can know. Universal law exists to permit and sustain the eternal unfoldment of life. This law will preserve, perfect, and protect every creature that is true to it. Law finally becomes the blazing, living symbol of divine power itself. Universal law is divine will in operation. Manly P. Hall. It is in our best interest to understand and align with the principles of natural law. Living in harmony with natural law means understanding and aligning with the universal principles in operation. The principles of mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, causality, and gender, and the hidden encapsulating principle of care. Living in harmony with natural law means living in balance and in alignment with divine will. Living in harmony with natural law means choosing to think, speak, and act in ways that do no harm to other life forms, and choosing morally right behavior over morally wrong or immoral behavior. Living in alignment with natural law means never infringing upon the free will of another life form. When in doubt as to whether any action is in harmony with natural law, it is necessary to assess if any harm is being done and if free will is being violated. A morally right action is based in truth, in harmony with natural law, and does not result in harm to another sentient being. A morally wrong action is not based in truth, not in harmony with natural law, and results in harm to another life form. We have free will to choose how we live, but we are not free from the consequences of our choices, because natural law is deterministic. Natural law is a mirror. You reap what you sow. Every thought, word, and inaction has a consequence, and nobody is above the law. We have free will, and we are free to do whatever we choose, but we are not free from the consequences of our choices, our thoughts, words, and deeds. Freedom is not the ability to do whatever we want to do. It is the ability to align free will with divine will and do what is right, moral, and good for all of us, now and 7 generations into the future. Living in accordance with natural law creates order, balance, harmony, prosperity, freedom, and sustainability, both internally and externally. Living in ignorance of natural law and not in accordance with its principles creates chaos and imbalance, perpetuates suffering, and brings us closer to extinction. Natural law is the law of freedom. Freedom and morality are directly proportional. As morality increases, freedom increases. As morality decreases, freedom decreases. The presence of truth and morality in the lives of people of any given society is inversely proportional to the presence of tyranny and slavery in that society. Mark Passio. Humanity is now suffering from the aggregate effects of violations against natural law from remote antiquity. Sovereignty and limitless power come from alignment with what is right, true, good, and moral. Only those who do no harm can be free. Only those who are engaged in right action evolve spiritually. Above all else, live by these principles and pursue truth, self-mastery, and self-knowledge. The future lies in the minds, hearts, and hands of those who live in alignment with natural law. For only through law comes the freedom of man. Thoth.